First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today, for making a stand for the biggest town in Ireland, for making a stand for your families and for your future. Because if Ireland continues the way it's going, we're not going to have a future as a nation, and certainly not as a nation state. I'll tell you what, this government is intent on committing economic suicide on the town of Drogheda. And the terrible thing is, it's not just Drogheda. When I called Patrice here, had a long list, I think there's 12 buildings in Drogheda and surrounds that have been taken over for the colonisation of our country. Because that's exactly what is happening, and it's colonisation without our consent, because all these people are waltzing in to Ireland. 60% of the people who apply for asylum in Ireland, 60% do it in Dublin. They haven't come in through a port of entry, probably snuck in down through the north, through the border there, on the bus from Dublin or wherever. 70% of the people who arrive in Dublin Airport and who say that they're asylum seekers, 70% of them claim that between the time they got on a plane, wherever, and they landed in Dublin and said the word asylum, that they've lost their passport. So they all think that we are absolute morons, that we believe that crap and fairy tales and lies.
Who gave them the passports?
But lies have consequences, because this plantation encouraged by our government. Actually, do you know, in America you have the KKK, in Ireland we have the PPP. You know what that stands for? Sinn Féin, Labour, People Before Puberty, Fine Gael, was it Fianna Fáil? Have I got that right? They're all PPP, pro-plantation parties. Pro-plantation parties. And the consequences of what they are doing in Ireland is a massive drain on Irish resources. Why should Irish people get up and go to work every morning to provide taxes, to pay for the medical care, the accommodation, the bed and board of some random guy from Somalia or Algeria or a fit young man from Georgia? What's wrong with them? Is there war going on? Why is it, we ask, is it 90 like Georgia? Christian country, he's applied for EU membership. There's nothing wrong with Georgia. In other countries, Germany and France, and the bigger countries, the EU, there's over a 95% rejection rate for people from Georgia. I think it's 11% in Ireland. So basically, if you land in Dublin and apply for asylum, there's a cracking good chance that you're going to get it. And if you don't, well, we see. Go on. Oh, and if you don't get it, if you don't get it, doesn't matter. If you don't, that's all part of the show, you know. And if you don't get it, you're going to get right to remain. All this stuff about self-deport. Imagine your tax demand came in every month, and it had at the bottom, oh, you only pay if you want to. Could you imagine it? Well, people would laugh, but that would happen. That's the scam and the story of our immigration policy at the minute. And it's run by people who clearly hate our culture. They hate our sovereignty, because only a sovereign country has clear borders and control of its borders. And do not go down the route, all this stuff about refugees welcome, or asylum seekers. Asylum seekers are only roughly 13,000 a year, or maybe even 20,000 a year. The main driver of immigration into Ireland since the last 20 years has been EU open borders and free movement and mass immigration. It's EU open borders which is the main driver of immigration into Ireland. It's Joseph Puska, who was a Slovak Roma, who slithered into Ireland, who was allowed to remain in Ireland, who never worked a day in his life in Ireland. And this Joseph Puska murdered a beautiful Irish girl, Ashleigh Murphy. Under a nationalist government, Joseph Puska would never be allowed in the country. There was a case, there's so many criminal cases every week now that they pass virtually without comment. I seen when I was looking up about the Joseph Puska. I seen another case that was only last year, a guy down in Wexford. He was 53 and he raped and sexually assaulted a girl of 7 years of age. He was 53 years of age, another Slovak. You wouldn't believe it, this guy had murdered someone previously in another country. And yet, because of EU open borders, he was going to waltz into Ireland, no problem. Only a country intent on suicide, cultural and demographic suicide, would allow that to continue. Open borders and anybody who wants to come can come. It's absolutely madness. No mature, self-respecting country in the whole world allows open borders and mass immigration. And always with these things, it's cui bono. Who's benefiting? Are we benefiting?
Keep them out.
When you think of the cost of all these hotels, so cui bono is the friends of the political class. The political class in Ireland is listed all those parties which are pro-plantation. What is Sinn Féin immigration policy? Brits out. What's the government immigration policy? Let me give it to you to start. Tourists out. Welfare tourists in. I thought that was pretty good, but maybe not. And the rest of them, they want to plant our country, and we're the people who have to stand up against the uni party. What is the uni party? It's the political class, the media class, and the NGO class. I was in Athlone there last week, and the reception there was absolutely really brilliant. But I got one guy opposite stopped, and he started giving off, "Oh, Hermann Kelly, you don't represent the people of Athlone." And he was sitting in a 150 euro BMW SUV, no doubt on one of these fat NGO jobs, which employs 1/3 people in Ireland. But we have to make it clear to this uni party that the days of one-sided, no debates, abusing people who have a different view to themselves, shutting down the views of, do you know who we are? We are Irish, and this is our land. This is Ireland, and this is our land. And I'll correct me if I say it, we're not far right. I'm not far right. Because we stand for free speech. We stood against the lockdown when they wanted to lock you in the house, not allow you to travel, not allow you to see your work, not allow you to see your family. We're opposed to the big state authoritarianism. We're against everything about fascism, which is the amalgamation of big corporations and the big state. So we're opposed to everything which is far right. But what we are is for a free Ireland, and a free people, and a free country that stands for sovereignty, not subservience, because that's the way we are at the minute. As members of the EU, we have 1% of the vote, and the European 1% of the vote. And look at, we're pouring money every week, every month in the EU. Last year, I think it was 1.1 billion euro in the EU coffers. And why are we paying old men we didn't elect to make laws that we don't need, and who give us open borders? And when we have the Supreme Court and the European Court of Justice. So at the minute, in matters of EU competence, EU law is superior to Irish law, the Irish Constitution, and the Irish Supreme Court. We are not a sovereign, independent country. What the men and women of 1916 fought for, we do not have. And you know what? None of these politicians in Drogheda stood up to stop the closure of the D Hotel. Not a single one. And you hear them, I'm aware of some of the debates in the Louth County Council over the last few years, and every one of them is pro-mass immigration. But you know what? 500 yards down the road here, there was an alderman or councillor called Tommaso Halpine. And he was taken here in 1921 on Ash Wednesday by the Black and Tans across the river, and he was beaten to a pulp. And then after he was beaten to a pulp, he was brought back, and he was hung up against a fence, and he was shot, and he died that we may have a sovereign, independent country. Tommaso Halpine and Sean O'Moran. That's the type of people we want standing for Ireland. The type of politicians we want standing for our freedom. Tommaso Halpine and Sean O'Moran. And a few years ago, I said, you know what? We're at the On Up is the Bridge of Peace, and On Up is the Mary McAleese Bridge. There was 20 years ago, I wrote some article for the Irish Catholic, and Mary McAleese. Well, there was all these Fianna Failers. They're all complaining. We don't need a a presidential election. It cost too much money, and I wrote an article about what the true cost of Irish democracy was: the blood of those two men with a memorial down the road there, Tomás O'Halpin and Sean O'Moran. The price of Irish democracy is the blood of people like that who sacrifice for our country rather than grow fat of our country. Because if you follow the money, Cui Bono as I said, you follow the money, you'll see it's the fat friends of the politicians, the big vulture funds, the big money. They don't let these people in here because they love them or because they're kind, because they're getting fat. These vulture funds, with the connivance of the political class, are growing fat on your money. While you, because of demand, increased demand because of immigration, you can't get a house, or your kids cannot rent an apartment. And where are our kids going? There's a few laws in life which cannot be changed, and one of them is that demographics is destiny. Demographics is destiny. And what's happening, as we're taking so many people into Ireland, our own children are emigrating, 21,000 there last year to Australia. We've got to stop that. There's someone talking about that later, so I'll leave that. So, I would ask that in the coming election, you take up the only thing that politicians understand, and I've said it before, is you take votes off them and you take money off them. It's the only thing that they understand. So I would ask you before Wednesday to check the voter register, check the website, to check that you're registered, and make sure that you vote for a candidate from the Irish Freedom Party come the local election and the European election, or vote, if there isn't one, to vote for another nationalist candidate who will put Ireland first, not Paddy last. We've had enough of being Paddy last. Thank you very much, and we will not accept the economic suicides of our local towns and Irish people being a minority in their own country. Go to Magasa. Someone said, a lot of people here don't know about the Irish Freedom Party, who we are, what we stand for. This is very simple. We believe in Irish people, Irish nation and Irish sovereignty. The Irish people, would you believe it, are good enough to decide their own laws, control their own budgets, and control their own borders. We believe in small state, low tax, personal freedom and responsibility. We don't believe in all this climate alarmism, bull, BS, and we acknowledge that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis and plant growth, and all this stuff about carbon tax. We're all opposed to all that. And the simple stuff, would you believe it? Contrary to all the professors at UCD, etc., we do not believe that men can get pregnant. Okay.
Thanks very much. Thank you, much appreciated.
All this transgender, intersexual agenda, climate alarmism, bullshit. Right? We believe not in transgender ideology, but we do believe in biology. And that's why we're advocating people vote no on March the 8th. If you want to send a clear message to the government, get out there and vote no on March the 8th to show to the foundations of Irish society, which is the family and mommy and daddy, that they have children and they educate them in Irish culture. Right?